Hello friends, I'm so glad that you joined me today. With the new release of the IOD molds, I'm going to be sharing how I used 5 different types of clay. This is a video I did previously, but I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'm interested to see if you've used any of these types of clay before and which was your favorite. Let's get started. Hello friends, and welcome to Late Night Creations. My name is Kendra, and I'm so excited to share this video with you today where I did a little bit of experimenting. I took 5 different types of air dry clay and experimented to see which one that I liked to create with the best, which one turned out the best, and made a cute DIY in the end. Let's get started. Here are the 5 air dry clays that I chose. I picked the Hearty Soft that was recommended by a viewer. It's super lightweight, so it looks like it's more per ounce, but it's very lightweight. You get quite a bit in the package. It's more like per square inch in the package, but not as dense. So it's really still a decent buy. It's very spongy. You can see it's not like all the other air dry clays. It's more dry. Okay, and then there's this Mont Marte. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Mont Marte is how I'm going to say it. And you can see the price there at 45 cents an ounce. And then the Jovi air dry clay, and it was 30 cents an ounce. I bought all of these on Amazon, so these are the Amazon prices, and you could shop around and probably get them at a better price or a better deal if you tried. This is the, I'm going to say, Pepe air dry modeling clay at 28 cents an ounce. And finally, the DOS air dry clay, which is what I have been using in most all my videos. And this little package was 62 cents an ounce. But the package that I normally purchase is the 2-pound package, which is 37 cents an ounce, which is a better buy by far. A better purchase, a better deal. So go ahead and purchase the bigger package and get the better deal. Now we're going to make these little pumpkins. We're going to do these 5 little wooden pumpkins I got in a package at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to use Dark and Decrepit on each one of them and some Summer Crush. These are DIY products. I get all my DIY products, IOD products, Saltwash from Sammy at unicorndustdesigns.com. Her link will be in the description box below if you would like to go and look at her website. I'm just going to take a sponge brush and wipe it on there and let it dry. I'm going to put a piece of tape with the names of the air dry clay on the back of each one so that I don't confuse myself and that I can keep track of which one has which clay on it. Okay, you can see. I'm just showing you. I'm going to do the exact same procedure for each one, so this may be a little bit redundant, but hang with me. I'm going to use the Hello Pumpkin IOD mold and just those 2 little leaves. We're going to start with the Hearty Soft. I have used this previously, so I'm just going to pull a big chunk off. The very end of it was a little bit dried out, but I pulled the part that wasn't dry. It's very lightweight, very spongy, very easy to work with. It maneuvers into the mold very easily. You will notice I did not put any cornstarch in there because I totally forgot. I acted like this was my first rodeo. It was not. But I didn't even need it because this stuff just came out really easy. You'll see how easily it's just going to pop right out of that mold. Not sticky. It's very dry. It's very, like I'm telling you, it's very spongy. And so I'm just going to fold around the little pieces on the edge if there's any little bits. Now I'm going to take Summer Crush and a chippy brush, and I'm just going to dry brush, do a little heavy dry brush on that pumpkin. Then I'm going to take Weathered Wood and then a little green that I mixed up. I took some aviary and mixed a little weathered wood in it, not aviary, farm girl. What's it called? Farm girl, I think it's called. And to make the green that I wanted because I'm out of aviary. And so I just put the brown on, and then I'm going to take the green and go over it because in those little crevices, I want that to be a little bit darker. Now, I didn't have to be as careful with this because it was holding its shape a little bit better than a regular clay would. And I didn't feel like I would lose as much detail while I was painting it. I was able to paint it not on my project. I did several of these painted not on the project and several painted on the project. Since I was going to paint them a different color than the project, I didn't like painting them on the project. I hope that makes sense because it's easy to get paint on that pumpkin and then, you know, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to use the Titebond Quick and Thick and just put a thin layer on the back, and I love to use this little spatula or a paintbrush or something to smear it because I do not like to get my fingers all messy with the glue and have them all sticky. Now once I get this on here, I decided I needed to dry brush a little bit of some Sawmill Gravy by Dixie Belle on top. Right now I'm just cleaning up the glue around the edges, and I'm just, these are, I cannot tell you how lightweight this clay is. It's super lightweight. And then I'm going to dry brush just a little bit of that Sawmill Gravy over the top. I use this same painting technique for every single one of these molds. So I'm not going to show you all of the painting technique that I did on them because I did the same exact thing. It would be super redundant. And then I'm going to make a little tiny twine bow and glue it right there on each one. And I did take a little Sawmill Gravy and dry brush on the pumpkin as well. All right, let's use the Jovi air dry clay. And we're going to use that little pumpkin with it. Now, this one is a little bit more dense than the previous one. It's not sticky. It's sticking to my hands a little bit, but not bad. It's very comparable to the DOS that I'm used to. It went really smooth into the mold, very smooth, and then as I'm wiping it away, it stayed in the mold, and it's just really creamy. I really like this one. Again, I did not use any cornstarch because I forgot. And it's still, so I'm kind of working it a little bit. You can see there, I broke the stem. That's okay. We just smoosh it back together. But it came out really easily. I was really glad because I did forget to use this cornstarch again. And I'm going to do the same painting technique, not on the pumpkin. And it worked out great. It was easy to paint, easy to get on there. Now, if you have something with small details, it's a little harder to do this, but these leaves were pretty easy to go ahead and glue on there after they were painted. I'm going to do the little dry brush technique. I said I wasn't going to show you, but I sped it up and just showed you bits and pieces. Okay, now the Mont Marte. So I cut this off, and it was very, very sticky. Super, super thick and sticky. This might be better if you're going to mold something out of clay. I don't know. Maybe use your wet hands wet with it. I don't know, but look, it is so sticky. And I don't like my hands to be messy. And it was just sticking to my fingers. And I couldn't knead it very well. So I just started putting it in the mold. Remember now, I don't have any cornstarch in here. I forgot. I forgot that I was doing, I guess, clay. I don't know where my brain was, but I just didn't put any in there. So look at my hands. Oh, that was awful. And I tried to use a wet wipe to clean them up, and I had to actually go over to the sink and scrub them. Okay, you can see as I'm wiping this away, it's super sticky. It's hard. It's a mess to clean up. Like I'm just having a hard time getting it off. Usually it will just come off. And right here is where I realize this is not coming out. It's not budging. And I realized I didn't use cornstarch. So I take my heat gun and I'm thinking, well, if I can dry the edges a little bit, maybe it'll go ahead and come on out. But no, it is not. It is not coming out of there. So I take my little spatula and I just scrape it all out. It broke my heart. But I did go over and I had to really like spray it with cleaner and scrub it with an old toothbrush. And yes, so I started all over again, washed the mold, dusted it thoroughly with some cornstarch, put that sticky stuff in the mold again, and it came out. So let's get it painted up. I didn't show you all that on camera because it was very redundant, but it did work. It did come out this time after I put the cornstarch in, but it still was very sticky and difficult to work with. This was definitely not my favorite clay. I would not purchase this again or recommend it for crafters using molds. I'm sure there's a good time and place for it, but yeah. So we will take a look at these when they dry overnight to see if any of them cracked or how the paint dried on them, because that's important. So I'm showing you here, I just put the dark, that weathered wood, a little bit of dark down, and then I put the green over it, tapped it in so that I had some dimension on those leaves. And then when that was semi-dry, I went over it with that sawmill gravy, very light hand on there. Dry brushing it with a very light hand. Beautiful. I love the look of these pumpkins and the way they turned out. Okay, let's try the Pepe. The Pepe air dry made in Italy. I'm going to use cornstarch liberally. Dust it in there good. Showing you that I've got my little tag on there. And the minute that I opened this and put that spatula through, I was like, oh yeah, this one's going to be a good one. And I was kneading it, and it was such a smooth and creamy texture and so easy to clean up. When you scrape that off and then you can just pick that excess off very easily, that's good. And it just pops right out of there so easily. This little leaf, I struggled with the stems, so I finally just gave up and just used it like this. So I painted this one off the pumpkin. It was difficult not to get that green paint all over the pumpkin when I glued them down first, but I tried them both ways, and I don't feel like that in the end it really mattered one way or the other with the molds to do it off or on the project. Now, you see that little stem broke off. I just glued it back on there by itself and pieced it together, and you can't even tell the difference. Okay, now we're going to use my tried and true DOS air dry clay. I'm very familiar with this, and if you've watched my channel at all, you've seen me use it, and it doesn't stick to your hands. A little bit of residue, but not much, and it's easy to work with. It's a little bit thicker and drier than the Jovi and the Pepe, but I do like it. It's easy to work with. It's easy to clean up. Pops out of the molds very easily, especially when you use the cornstarch. Oh boy. Okay. And then I am going to use the Type Bond Quick and Thick, just like with all the rest of them. I'm not sure why I showed you this on every single one of them. Maybe I just wanted to have time to talk. I don't know. But yeah, I just use a little paintbrush there to clean up the excess glue if I accidentally move the mold or it oozes out. Okay, so here's the consensus now. I gave it stars, and then I put them kind of in order. So DOS is my number one still, 5 stars. especially the cost. Pepe was great, 5 stars. Jovi, 5 stars. Hearty Soft and Jovi are tied. I like them the same amount. I put these in order. Yeah, the Mont Marte, maybe 2.5 stars. We're folding it up and putting it away. It's not even in the running anymore. But I would use any of these anytime in any project. Now, I have this little pallet sign that I picked up at Hobby Lobby on clearance a couple years ago, actually, for $2.24. It's been in my stash for a while, and so I'm going to use it for this project. Now, all of these dried beautifully. The paint looks great. I had 0 cracking, 0 shrinking, and they're great. So we're just going to glue them down to this pallet sign. And I just laid them where I wanted them and in the order that I wanted them. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on the back, and they're going to adhere to this wood because it's wood on wood, and it's going to stay great. And there was one on here that I needed to be raised up just a little bit. So I had this little wooden circle. You could use a piece of cardboard or anything just to raise it up a little bit. A Jenga block was going to be too much, the tumbling tower blocks. So I just used that tiny little piece that I had handy. And yeah, so I'm just going to glue these down. I didn't even take the names off the back. You will not be able to see them. And just glue these down like it's going to be a little pumpkin patch. Get them glued down. Okay, now we're going to take some messy moss, which is what my friend Brandy over at the DIY Struggle calls it. I love that. And we're just going to glue it to the bottom underneath the pumpkins. And we're just going to glue all the way across the bottom, put a bunch of hot glue down there. And I like to use this little silicone spatula. I picked those up at the Dollar Tree, and they come in really handy to use with hot glue. Now I have some little muslin strips. I just cut them out of a little piece of muslin that I picked up at the fabric store. I think you could probably get it at Walmart or Hobby Lobby or anywhere. And then I have some canvas drop cloth and a couple pieces of twine. And now I have this beautiful ribbon, very neutral. I use it for spring and fall. And I'm going to just cut one little strip. I got this at Sam's a couple years ago, and it's a huge roll, and I just keep using it and keep using it. I'm finding the center, and I have a little string. Oh, I did that really quick. I had a little string of twine, and I just tied it in the center. And now I'm just going to kind of crisscross these pieces a little bit, and that twine kept wanting to curl up on me. And so I just had to hold it down. I'm going to put that in the center, and then with that piece of twine, I did not cut the ends off. I didn't trim it up so that I could just tie that down. And I'm not tying big knots in every single time that I tie because I don't want that center to be, a big, huge knot. And then I'm going to take another piece of that little muslin and just tie it like so. I was going to tie a bow, and then didn't have enough, so never mind. Then I decided that the pieces were too long, so I'm just going to trim them up. I'm doing this in lieu of a bow. I'm not really much of a bow girl. I'm a little bit more simple with the bow part. Bows and florals, not so much. I'm more rustic, but I do like a little something something. So we're just going to put this little doodad up there. I made a little finger bow with my twine, and I do have a tutorial for finger bows and tassels in the description box below if you want to watch that. And I'm just going to glue this across the top, and I'll glue those tails down so they don't flop around. Just a tiny little dot of hot glue right there where I think it looks good. I'm going to add just a teeny little bit of moss around that bow and on the ends of the ribbon, and our project is complete. Thank you for joining me today and watching this video. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below if you have ever tried any of these air dry clays or if you want to try some of them. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.